Well, Ulises, a much-needed sweep for the Tampa Bay Rays over the course of the weekend.
If the Rays want to get deep into the playoffs, take back some division games, this is exactly how they have to treat teams like the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's talk about it.
Indeed.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. And remember, Locked On Rays is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Well, as we mentioned, the Tampa Bay Rays sweep the lowly Pirates, which I learned was the first time in franchise history that the Rays have swept the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is just kind of a weird stat because, one, it's the Pirates, and two, the Rays, it's not like they play the Pirates every year. Like, it's kind of a weird moniker there. But they won on Friday. The Rays won on Friday 4-3 in 10 innings. On Saturday, they won 6-5, and then on Sunday they won 4-2. So close games, but wins are wins are wins. And I guess you can look at it a couple ways. You can look at it, well, they barely beat the Pirates, but also the Rays coming from behind, winning close ball games. That's something that they've struggled to do this season. So you take it where you can get it.
Yeah, you definitely have to take the positive out of this. I understand the negative Nancy's who are going to say, well, they can barely beat them by one run. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's a W at the end of the year. And like I said earlier, this is exactly the type of series that you have to have if you're the Rays, and if you think that you're way too talented and you're going to the playoffs and you're going to make a deep run in the playoffs. This is how you got to treat teams like the Pirates. Sweep them. And you got to put your foot down. Now, obviously, you would rather have a Dodgers-Reds type of series where you just annihilate the other team. But at the end of the day, when the Dodgers, annihilate the Reds, that's 3 wins. The Rays beat the Pirates by 1 run or 2 runs. It's 3 wins. So that's what you have to focus on, is that they played well, especially coming back from that New York Yankee series, which was such a letdown.
Yeah.
They were able to get through, and there are so many guys to highlight during this series, Kevin. I mean, there are so many, and I want to just start with one guy, Harold Ramirez. We had an episode this last week called Unheralded Harold.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, I mean, he just keeps surprising people. He is this year's Jeff Keppinger. You cannot keep this guy away from the lineup. He's going to get a hit. He's going to get a hit no matter what, no matter where, up the middle, oppo, pulling the ball, a grounder that he runs out, anything. He's going to make contact. He's not going to chase. This is a guy you want in your lineup.
It is indeed, and it's most likely going to be a single, and it's most likely going to come at an opportune time for the Rays. And I wonder, Harold Ramirez, do you think that the Rays bring him back next year? I know it's early and premature to have that discussion as of right now, but if he's a guy that the Rays are looking at and saying, yeah, we'd like to keep him in our plans for 2023.
I think not. I think he's just like a stopgap kind of role player. You've got so many guys that, could step in and kind of provide what he can. And we'll talk about the possibilities of that guy next year in a little bit. But no, I think Harold Ramirez is doing just fine. I do not think he's part of the future for the Rays.
Maybe one thing that Harold Ramirez has working in his favor, I heard this from multiple sources, is that he has athletic greens before every ball game, and that's what allows him to give the boost and the punch and make contact with so many baseballs.
Well, everybody has a routine, and I'm sure Harold Ramirez has his. And, well, maybe it could include athletic greens because it's the single best thing you can do for your body in under 60 seconds. With one delicious scoop of athletic greens in a cup of water, you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole foods, superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens that help you start your day right. You don't need a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health anymore. No, you just need to have athletic greens. So today, go to athleticgreens.com/MLB network, and you're going to be able to have a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So again, all you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/MLB network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
In addition to athletic greens, you can also make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And what that does is it allows Locked On Sports listeners to get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement as well. So use code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON. That's code LOCKED ON. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. So shop stress-free and find your forever piece by going to BlueNile.com today. One positive among the many positives over the course of the weekend. Well, first of all, the Rays didn't waste outings by starting pitchers. That was nice for a change. And two, I don't think any Rays player hit the injured list over the course of the weekend, unless I'm mistaken. In fact, the Rays got a reinforcement back by the name of Wander Franco.
You know, that's true. And it feels so good to have Wander back in the lineup and back on the field. They had us a struggling 23 games without Wander. They went 11-12. They dropped 6 games in the standings while Wander was out. So is that all attributed to Wander Franco? No, certainly not. I mean, not you know, if you start to make the argument that one guy can change a whole team, go to Anaheim, and then you'll be wrong because that's what happens.
Or even 2 guys, Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout.
There you go. Exactly. So no, it's great to have him back. I think he gives them a jolt in the clubhouse. Like, that's the guy, right? That's their phenom. That's who they're going to be leaning on. So I think it makes everybody a little bit better. It makes the lineup way more punchy and thicker down to the last third of the lineup. So looking forward to see what he can do. But I do want to go back to something that you said. The Rays didn't waste any starting pitching outings. I would say, again, Saturday, over managing Kevin Crash got in the way again. Got in the way again. You have a guy sub 65 pitches, and now Neil Solondz after the game says, well, it's not only about pitches, it's about the situation in the game and all that. Dude, you can explain the bureaucracy to me and to our listeners. Is Neil Solondz hired by the Rays? Like, does he get his salary from the Rays, or
his
from
salary comes
WBA?
from the Rays? He works in their media communications. His paycheck says Rays, so he is a mouthpiece for the Rays.
And it's so noticeable, man. Like, you can't just clap at everything because you can't just say that was a good move. And I really dislike, when he kind of cuts off callers who are being frustrated and says something like, well, you're only just saying that because if it's outcome based. Neil, people can also say that while it's happening, and then after it happened and it was a bad call or it had a bad outcome, you can still say that it was bad because you said it in the beginning. When you saw Kevin Crash come out and get Kluber at 65, 63 pitches, you can say that's a bad move. And you have the right to do that as a fan. And I just get frustrated because you can't just clap at everything that the Rays do, man. And criticizing them is not saying that they're bad. Criticizing them is your ownership as a fan, as what you're giving the time of your day, of your Saturday to this franchise, the money that you're spending to this franchise and organization. It would be a little bit more, understanding for the fan base to hear a guy like Neil Solondz say, you know what, that might not have been the best move. And maybe not for that particular one, but just, I have never in a post-game, not a post-game conference, but in a post-game show,
right,
heard him say, I completely disagreed with that move. And that just kind of takes validity out of his out of his opinion sometimes, because you can't just be, clapping
Did
all
you
the
try
time.
to call into Solond's post-game show? Did he cut you off?
For God's sakes. No. I was frustrated that like he was cutting off a couple people that called in, and I just like, that's not what gives you validity of your reasoning. And that really just struck a chord with me. Like, these are fans, man. They're calling in. Don't just brush them off and say that they don't know that Kevin Cash has always been this way. Just because he's always been this way doesn't mean that it's okay or that it's right.
He's actually guy, and I get it from Neil Solond's perspective. He knows who signs his paychecks, and he probably would like to angle for Dave Wills or Andy Fried's position at some point in time, which I hope that never happens. I would always love Andy Fried and Dave Wills to be no disrespect to Neil Solondz, but they've also, I feel like those guys are more apt and comfortable with calling guys out and criticizing the team or criticizing mistakes. But again, that probably has to do with the longevity, and they trust their positions. I mean, Neil Solondz, he's only been on the beat, so to speak, for a couple years now. He doesn't have the, the tenure of those other guys. Same thing with.
Hasn't it been like 6 years that he's been part of the post game shows now, or in the pregame shows? Like 6-7 years now.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's been a minute, man. It's been a minute.
Well, there goes our chances of getting Neil Solondz on the show.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying, like, it just, again, nothing personal. It's just, you can't just clap at everything. And
the Rays swept. This should be a happy day.
I know. That's the thing. Like, it was frustrating for me to hear fans trying to, air their frustrations, and a guy who has his platform, which in Rays fandom is a pretty huge one,
right?
To just kind of scoff it off. And I think that was well put. Well, actually, that's exactly what he does most of the time.
I haven't listened to Neil in a long while. I just
well, there you go. That's your Neil recap of this weekend. Well, actually,
Neil Solondz.
I'll leave the impersonations to you. I don't want him to block me.
I think you're gonna get a little bit of a block later on today. Something tells me that's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna call you out, and then it's gonna be a whole thing. Anyway, let's not derail the train here. Let's keep pushing along. Again, it should be a happy day. The Rays got a sweep. Yes, it was against the Pittsburgh Pirates, but still, you got 3 wins, and you're back tied for third in the AL East, which is nice.
Feels so good.
And you go into an off day with a couple W's.
It would have been so much better if the Astros had just held on and just kind of finished the job there. Because you talk about one of the factors of dropping 6 games back when Wander was out. Man, it was because also the Yankees were just on fire, and also you lost 5 out of 6 games against them.
Yeah.
That would also have a reason. But yeah, I think ultimately it was a good weekend, not only because of the internal factors of sweeping the Pirates, but also what happened around the division was pretty good. Yeah.
We'll continue this discussion, but first we have to tell you about betonline.net. BetOnline.net is your #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and Major League Baseball. BetOnline, it is your continued source for all your sport wagering info, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. So head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Bet online, it is where the game starts. I have a question.
Yeah.
Isaac Paredes, is he the real deal?
I mean, he's definitely the AL player of the week. Okay.
Fair, yes.
I don't want to hear it at all. 10 for 15, 5 bombs, 2 doubles, 9 RBIs in 17 plate appearances. That just screams nasty to me. And then when you say the real deal to me, well, if you're trading a guy like Austin Meadows,
yeah,
it wasn't just, well, let's just unpack
it wasn't a salary
$4
dump
million.
for $4 million.
No, exactly. Like it wasn't just, well, we don't have to pay
Yeah.
these for. No, it wasn't that. They saw talent. Now the thing that is intriguing to me is that they untap this, or was Paredes always this guy, and somehow, some way, the Tigers were blocking this guy? The Tigers? Like, what? Like, you couldn't find a spot for
Yeah.
Isaac in the Tigers organization? That's what's troubling to me. Like, that the Rays just have a secret sauce and tell Isaac, just do this. That, to me, I think that's magic. That's nonsense. This is who Isaac is.
Right.
It's just baffling to me that an organization like the Detroit Tigers, who have been struggling since the last half decade, even plus, would not find a way to get this guy in the lineup.
Yeah, it is interesting about Isaac, and I think we have to have some context here. He made his major league debut in 2020 at 21 years old. That's a really, really difficult thing to do. Not everybody can be Wander Franco. Wander Franco struggled out the gate. So I would have to research this more, but just the development and making sure that Paredes was put in the best position to succeed, I wonder how the Tigers handled that and massaged that. And of course, 2020 was craziness. So
we remember,
and maybe Paredes, I know in the scouting reports, he got labeled as, he's a high contact guy. He's going to make contact like Yandy Diaz, but he's not going to give you the pop, and he's not, the athleticism isn't quite there, even for a third baseman or a first baseman, and definitely not a second baseman. So you sort of get labeled by the organization and by people that review prospects for a living, and it's hard to maybe dig out of a hole there. And change of scenery can mean a lot. It can mean a lot in a good way. It can mean a lot in a bad way, like Austin Meadows. Like, it certainly has not been easy for Austin Meadows to go to Detroit and leave his Ruskin home and, have to play in a bigger ballpark and deal with a move before he probably expected to be traded. But I think, whatever it is, Isaac is starting to figure things out. And sometimes it takes a couple of years to do that. When you made your debut at 21 years old, and he's still a young kid at 23.
So 23, almost 24. Yeah.
So in those couple of years, you can get stronger. You can make adjustments. You can find a way to hit the ball a little bit harder and hit the ball squared up more consistently, and figure out, what is it that I want to be? What is my strength? And we're starting to see his strength, that when he needs to hit a home run, he brings the hands in, and a high, deep drive to left. How many times have we heard that this season? And he can also poke the ball around a little bit. And what I really love about Isaac is, over the course of the weekend, he played 3 positions. He played first a little bit. He played second. He played third a little bit. And I know he's not Josh Lowe. He's not Randy. He's not Wander, he's not Vidal as far as a true athlete, but he's a baseball player. He's a ball player. And sometimes that is all that matters at the end of the day. You don't necessarily have to be the fastest guy in the room or the strongest guy in the room to be an amazing ball player. I mean, we've seen many guys that, 5-tool player, look at, he is cut from a different cloth, and he can't play baseball. But I think Isaac Paredes is a little bit of a different breed here. And playing devil's advocate, there are many guys over the course, Ulises, we have talked about this. There are many guys over the course of baseball history who have had a hot week, a hot 2 weeks, a hot 3 weeks. Aristides Aquino for example. Like, what happened to that guy? Totally fell off the radar. Emilio Bonifacio won a Player of the Month award years ago. So, but something tells me that Isaac Paredes is going to have some foothold and some staying power. I don't know if he's ever going to be an all-star, but I think he's going to be a solid player for a long, long time with the Rays and maybe some other organizations in the future. That's just my take.
If he gives you what Yandy Diaz has given the Rays, but with increased pop, that's tremendous. I mean, he plays third and first and second, so you're also adding another position there. So that's helpful. And I want to talk about a play that he had at first. I believe that was on Sunday. Yeah, he was playing first on Sunday. There was a grounder to first, but it was between first and the second baseman. He goes to his right. He picks it up. Shane McClanahan does not go to first. He doesn't go to cover, and the runner, astutely starts to sprint a little bit faster. He calm and collected. He went to first. He got the out by stepping on first, but he looked so comfortable doing so.
Yeah.
And that might just be a routine play, but if you're not, not to put another guy in the spot, Harold Ramirez, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he would have, done it the way that Isaac did. So, like, it's nice to know that you can put this guy in third, second, first base, and he's just going to do his job. He's not going to make a flashy play. He's kind of a no chrome for all of you old Rays fans when Joe Madden used to say that about Ben Zobrist. No chrome, but that's not a bad thing. You're not going to make a leaping, Omar Vizquel type of throw to first to make a double play, but you'll make the double play even if it looks badly, like aesthetically pleasing.
Right.
I think that has a merit. Just make the play, and I think Isaac makes the play. He has a tremendous arm, people. He's got a very strong arm. If you don't remember that, he actually made a throw to first to get a guy from his buttocks, okay?
Yeah.
And from his knees. So that's the kind of arm he has. So that's why I'm saying he's kind of like a Yandy Diaz. He's got smooth hands, maybe not a lot of range, but anything that's in his in his bubble, in his space, he's going to make the play, and he's going to have a strong throw. And if you add first base to that, you're going to add pop to that. Yeah, who cares about potential all-star status? Yandy Diaz is a valuable player in this lineup. Isaac Paredes, adding another position, adding some pop, that is a valuable player in your game. So I want to see a little bit more of Isaac. Like, I understand the numbers and the splits and maybe this guy not, but there's something about a guy's confidence, a guy feeling really hot at the plate, where you just kind of have to ride that until it might get cold, because it's not going to keep getting hot by benching him, by not giving him starts. Like, this is a guy who needs to be in the lineup. He needs to be in the lineup.
Play the hot hand. He's got 10 home runs in 34 games. He leads the team with a 927 OPS. He's got a 612 slug as of right now. Is that going to be kept up for the rest of the season? Probably not. But as we said last week, he's probably going to give you, if he gets consistent playing time, at least 20 bombs, which the Rays desperately need somebody that can provide that. And he's making history. He's making history by being one of the very few Rays players to hit 3 home runs in a game. Johnny Gomes, Evan Longoria, B.J. Upton, Travis d'Arnaud, Brandon Lau. That's a pretty solid list right there, I would say.
That would have been a great trivia question, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Great trivia question. Yeah.
In addition to Isaac Paredes, and kind of burying the lead here, although I will say this about Paredes, I learned something. Sometimes you learn something from Mark Topkin. I learned that Paredes is a big John Cena fan. That's pretty cool. So if you see him do the you can't see me thing, little shout out to Pasco County resident John Cena. If you see a green Lamborghini in Land O'Lakes, you know who's driving that thing. I've got some John Cena stories that I'll save for another day. But
locked on John Cena.
Yeah. When are Isaac Paredes jerseys or jerseys going to become available? I'm very curious to see if those are now at the Trop.
They better be.
There's got to be a point where ride the hot hand.
You got to put those. I mean, again, right now the Rays need offense. This guy's providing offense. People want to have a favorite player. Everybody's aching for a favorite player all the time. And I know everybody's favorite right now is probably Wander or Randy, McClanahan, obviously, if you're a pitching guy. But Paredes, I mean, this guy's gonna kind of become rather quickly a cult hero, and people like that, man. People like performances that come out of nowhere.
G-Man Choi against Garrett Cole.
There you go. Exactly. Performances out of nowhere where the underdog kind of beats it. I would love to see some Paredes jerseys and jerseys at the Trop, and maybe they're not ready for this homestand that's finishing up here with the Brewers, but maybe when they come back from Toronto in the road trip, you might see some Paredes gear at the Rays shop.
I see a Paredes marketing promotion coming about at some point in the future that you can tie in John Cena. You could tie in the 3 home runs. You could tie in his Mexican bloodlines. Like he's got an interesting story. Absolutely. I sort of got a little off kilter here. I wanted to point out another guy, I guess, I don't know if Paredes is still considered a rookie, but a young player. This guy is a rookie, Josh Lowe. We have been critical of Josh Lowe, but Josh Lowe, I think, starting to figure it out and starting to step up like other rookies on this team. Again, we have been saying that April, May, most of June, there's going to be some growing pains. Now I think we're starting to see some of the figure outness come about. We saw Josh Lowe. He was hitting the ball hard in the Yankee series, but, for one reason or another, they weren't dropping. But now he had a hit in every game over the course of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And he made some really, really important plays with the bat. Like, for example, on Friday, working a full count, shooting the ball the other way for a single, steals second, whoever was after him gets a base hit, and he scores from there. Like, there were multiple instances where Josh Lowe was in on the action and, help give the Rays a lead or help put them back into contention. Like, seeing how he adjusted to off-speed pitches and working counts and seeing him run the bases well is a nice change of scenery. So I think Josh Lowe might be a guy. I don't know if he's going to have a 770 OPS like you predicted before the season, but we might be starting to see why Josh Lowe was such a high-profile prospect over the next couple weeks or months, perhaps.
And we've said it all the time. You got to have patience. You have to be patient. This is going to take some time. Well, now it's getting into 3 months of the season. You might see a little bit better production from all these guys. From Vidal is waking up. Taylor Wall seems to be waking up. Josh Lowe seems to be waking up. You've got the Isaac Paredes story shaping up rather nicely. Like, the young guys are apparently getting hot at the right time. I still want to see Josh Lowe square something up higher than 93 miles an hour. I think he got
still
see that as an
like
issue.
A 92, but yes, that is a astute point. So he did show an adjustment to breaking balls, which was great. But again, let's see if he can handle the high heat, because we've seen other young guys be able to at times handle the high heat. Like Vidal Brujan has actually, hit a 98-mile-per-hour pitch for a base hit. So that is going to be something to watch out for Josh Lowe. But what I did like about him was he pulled a ball. He hit a ball up the middle. He hit a ball the other way. Like, he kind of showed a little bit of everything in that series.
And the ball against the lefty, the ball on the other hand was opposite field was against the lefty too. Yeah. So that's nice to see. Get his confidence up, getting a hit in every game. That's perfect. And again, Kevin Kiermaier is out. So you never, ask Tom Brady if somebody getting hurt and then you get in the opportunity opens up a window, a door, and maybe a couple mansions in the U.S.
Yes, very good point. Love the Tom Brady reference. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen, the Locked On MLB Prospects podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.